So, this is what happened this weekend. I was supposed to be going to my friend Sarah's house, but actually, me and my friend Morgan, and my friend Rebecca decided to go to friends, which is like 2 hours away on a road trip, without telling any of our parents. And it sounded like a bad idea from the beginning, but we've done it a few times before and gotten away with it. Only this time, the car ended up breaking down. See, first we got there, and Morgan went to the mall with Rebecca, and I went to see my friend Sarah from high school. And we ended up drinking half a quart of vodka together. And then we were going to go up to the clubs. And so I started texting my friend Julian that I've been hooking up with. And he's in the army. And he's been in this field all week, which meant that he was camping outside in the snow for 4 days. And he supposedly had a cold. And for some reason I wasn't buying it. And I was thinking, well, maybe he just doesn't want to hook up and he can't say it. And I was drunk, so I started texting him anyways again. And I was like, hey, I'm drunk. I'm going out to the club. And then he's like, I'm in the MER. And I'm like, oh, wow, what club is that? But I didn't actually text that in my head. I was assuming he was out at a bar, and he was actually lying in the scene to begin with. So I was like, I just need to know. I'm like, it's important. And then he was like, well, don't go to the bars. We'll go back to my place. So I called my friend Morgan. He tapped over to Sarah's so he could be my designated driver. And he started taking, him and Rebecca took me and Sarah. First we dropped Sarah off at her boyfriend's, and then after that we went up the hill. There's this random girl who's like obviously drunk, and she's like standing in front of the car, and I'm like buzzed by now. I'm like, pull over, and I put my window down, and she comes over, and I'm like, you fucking slut. And I was like, drive! I know, it was pretty funny if you were there at the time. So then I'm texting him, and he's like, I'm in the MER, and I'm like, where the fuck is the MER? I've never heard of this club before. So I'm like, I'm almost at your house, but really I was like 20 minutes away. And then finally we are almost there, and there's Tim Hortons by the place. So I'm like, pull over, I have to pee. So I go in, and I pee. And it's roll the rim season. I've desperately been trying to win. I've bought like 5 coffees. I've had like 0 winnings. So I get Morgan to buy me a coffee, and I probably need the coffee. I'm going to stay up and hook up because I'm drinking this much vodka. So here I am with this extra large coffee, and I start to drink it, and it's too hot. So I ask for a mug, I take a mug, and I split half of it, and then I do my roll for the rim because that was more important than the coffee to begin with. And of course I lose. And here I am flipping into Tim Hortons drunk, and all these people are just looking at me, and I'm like, look at my belly button, guys, because I just got done again for like the 5th time, and it's like, okay. There I am with my shirt up in the air, showing my belly button, and my friends think they want to crawl under the table and die. So they're like, well, let's go. And I was like, okay, let's go. So, get in the car, and for some reason, when you're drunk, you can't really find places. So it took me a little bit longer to get there, but I ended up getting there, and he was there. And I'm like, okay, I have to go in there. I have to find out where the MER is and why he lied about being sick. So I go in there. I'm about to talk to him, and I'm like, give me 5 minutes. I have to pee. So go pee, deal with that. I'm like, go where's and he's like, well, turns out that why does it say 3:35? Anyways, so it turns out the MER is actually the emergency room, and he was like viciously sick, and he's like coughing up shit and being stuffed up and like looking like he got ran over by a bus, basically. And I'm like, oh god, I'm an idiot. So we ended up hooking up anyways, and I was on the couch and I hear my phone vibrating constantly, and when you're hooking up, that's kind of not important, so I avoided it. And then I went and I finally got my phone. So my cousin Morgan, and they're like, oh my god, your car like crashed on the highway. And I'm like, are you serious right now? Are you kidding me? So I called them, and as crazy as it is, didn't really seem important at the time. The Italian lover seemed more interesting, so I ended up staying the night with my Italian lover, which was great. And in the morning, we got like an hour later, actually, because we didn't go to sleep till like 5, and it was like 6 because his alarm's going off, because in the army it has automatically go off at 6 a.m., which is really sad. So he's still sleeping, and I pull out my phone, read text messages, and now it seems to matter that my car's broken down, so I text my cousin who's awake, and it turns out that his dad's on his way down, but he won't be leaving for a couple hours, so a few hours to spare, and he was going to help us, and he would deal with it then. So look over and there's this really hot army guy laying naked beside me, and well, that was more important. So dealt with that in the morning, which was almost as great as last night if I could remember all of it. And then we say our goodbyes. I'm off to Florida in like a week, so I won't see him for like a month. But anyways, say our goodbyes and went to go meet my cousin. Him and Rebecca were staying with his great aunt, which is like 74. And for some reason, I was like picturing this like old woman. Well, she was old, but she was like hilariously hip for an old woman. She was like, "Do you guys want breakfast?" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll have some toast, please." And she's like, "Well, wait till I finish my cigarette." And then she told us all these funny stories about life, and there's some serious ones about how she fell in love with her husband. They were married for 44 years, and he died 7 years ago. She cried even. It was very deep and emotional. But I'm sitting there with like X-hair hickeys on my neck and a tube top. It was kind of awkward. I think I smell the fuck still. Soon his dad came, and his mom's like, "You!" She's looking at me, and she's like blaming me. I'm like, "Oh my god, can I crawl under a carpet and die?" So me and Morgan and his dad decided to head out to try to find the car, and it was actually still on the highway. So we get over, we pull over, get the car, and all of a sudden a cop pulls up, which is just brilliant, and he's like French, and he's like, "So it looks like the car is broken down here," and we're like, "Well, it seems to be the issue, it's not running." "Well, should I call a tow truck for you?" And we're like, "Well, that would seem like the legit idea to do." So he calls the tow truck, and he comes over, he's like, "Don't get out of your car," because it's like on the highway and all, and he's like, "I have to go." And then he just left. So the tow truck comes, and after like hours between the tow truck and his brother, the mechanic, that was a backyard mechanic literally, we couldn't get the car to run because it's Chrysler 300 and it has something to do with like the computer chip and it has to be restarted by the company. So then it's time to call mommy and daddy. Call. My mom answers like, "Hello, what's wrong?" I'm like, I'm in Brighton with Morgan and my car broke down." And she was just really calm and she's like, "Okay, we'll call you back in 5 minutes." There was no call back. So we ended up going to McDonald's and driving home, where it really wasn't that scary as I thought it would be. They just basically told me that I shouldn't lie to them. And they would have checked my car and they would have seen that my cat was in the fan belt, which made my car break down to begin with, and none of this would have ever happened. And I also ended up telling them about my guy that I'm seeing, which is kind of awkward because my mom has to ask me like a million questions about him. And then for about 5 minutes she told me I wasn't going to Florida, which was really stupid because she's not going to go to Florida alone. She's like an emotional wreck. And 5 minutes later they're like, "Okay, well you can go, but you have to like stop lying." So the new rule here is that I can't lie. And wow, it was a great lesson learned. I think I made it really worth it actually though. Not gonna lie. Enjoyed myself. So I went to work today. Nothing really interesting happened except for my story, which everyone basically loved, that my cat was in the fan belt and made my car break down. I spent the night with my tiny lover, who put a smile on my face, which puts a smile on every customer's face. 40 Florida. See you guys later.